start today on Power Moves. Join me and my partner Joel Sylvain on Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, and key influential executives share how they make money, attract power, and earn respect. We're on In Touch Radio, reality radio, where everybody is a star. Our show is sponsored by Sports and Entertainment Partners, Pro to CEO Juwan Howard, and Oxygen and the Smile Experience, serving mothers and living elegantly. The question today is, what power move will you take away to propel your life? I'm here, and today we're getting started. There's a lot going on in the world today. You know, you could pick the issue and you could talk about it for hours. We tend to focus on business and business creation. We tend to focus on sports and entertainment. And today we're so fortunate to be able to discuss one thing that's local, because we're based in Tampa. We are talking about the big win with the Bucks last night. All right, just real quick, y'all. Yes, the Bucks won 13-12. We pulled it out, so we're doing a lot better than we have been. So congratulations to those guys. I know it's early in the season, we're preseason, but we're doing some fantastic things. So we're happy to hear that the Bucks are doing well. We're also talking in the world of sports here. There's a lot going on with all these moves happening in business and industry, but I want to take a break here and invite some great people here that we have today. Joel, welcome to the show, my brother. What's happening?
Yes, sir. Joel is in the building, baby. That's right. Brooklyn's in the house.
And
once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. So before we get started, today's a special day. Happy birthday to Justine Skye, who also shares it with Mrs. Daly over here. Happy birthday!
Yeah, we are
applause. Yeah. Yes. And in the world of entertainment, I gotta give a big shout out to my man Steve Rhythm, that's been working with Jidenna. Jidenna just dropped the album 85 to Africa. Woo! It's a worldwide, beautiful album.
Okay.
He just came out with his album release. This is dope. Okay. And then Raphael Sadiq just dropped one. And I listened to it. It is John Blaze. So for families, it's all about this black excellence. That's why we have the Daly family in the house.
We are.
And so let's introduce the Daly family. Mr. Eric Daly in the house.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. So, one of the things I want to say, man, we met, almost 10 years ago, right?
Oh, man.
Maybe it's probably, I think it was around 2010.
Yeah.
For sure.
And you've been really doing your thing when it comes down to, you're so passionate about basketball, and as you can tell, this is a family affair. Mm-hmm. And, that's why we have Kevin Carr from Pro to CEO in the house.
P to C in the house.
P to C, which is Mr. Career crossover. And one of the things he likes to espouse is the 9 medallions. The 9 medallions stand for champion, right?
Yes, sir.
And so, what's going to be the medallion and the theme for today with the Daly family?
Well, they fully represent multiple medallions, so I just can't give them one. They got mad skills over here, but we're going to start with opportunism. This family literally knows when opportunity is around them, they prepare for it. So when it comes, they never miss a beat.
That's right.
So we're gonna start right there.
I like that one. I like that one. So with that being said, let's share a little bit about your story, Mr. Daly.
Yeah, take us back. Bring us forward.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Ocala, Florida. Maybe about 2 hours from here, hour and a half from here. 17, I got a scholarship to Western Carolina University. And I stayed there for 2 years. I had a really good career going. I was one of the top freshmen in the country at the time, but I wanted more. So I transferred to Texas Christian University.
TCU.
Yeah, I transferred in 1991. Okay. And I stayed at TCU for 3 years. I was all conference player. Averaged 16 points, 9 rebounds, pretty much for my career at both schools.
Okay.
And didn't get drafted in '94. So it was a wake-up call for me.
Okay.
And it was time for me to go and attack the world.
Yeah,
so
man.
I could have stayed here, played in CBA or some of the minor leagues, but I chose to attack the European route.
Okay.
And, man, it's paid dividends. You know, initially I didn't think it was, you know, it wasn't sexy at the time.
Right.
Overseas, you didn't make it to the league. Why they be asking me, why you didn't go to the league? I'm like, man, it's 300 spots, dude. It's 300 people in your city. So, I got over there, man. It was really difficult at first because I didn't understand the European way of life. And, you know, we weren't taught that over here. You're talking 94. That's pre-internet.
Right.
You know, pre-cell phones, you know, so I didn't have that. So I'd have to go down the street and talk on the phone, you know, at 1 o'clock in the morning on a payphone that's a half a mile away from where I'm staying and put, you know, 20 quarters in so I could get to the AT&T operator.
So pause on that real quick because, you know, you
got to get some perspective right
here. So basically, you know, your goal was to be professional.
Definitely.
Go professional, go NBA, right?
Definitely.
And it didn't quite fall into place the way you wanted it to. Right. But you still had to eat.
Boy, hey, listen.
Right.
You got to eat every day.
All right. So that's really the point that I want to make is that even though some people may consider that as a failure, that they didn't make it to the ultimate goal, but sometimes you got to learn to pivot, just like in the basketball, you know, you need to switch the move, right? So I just wanted to make sure that we accentuate that point. So go back to the 20 quarters, the culture shift, because obviously it wasn't that just basketball and making a living. You also had to adjust culturally.
Yeah, we know you from Ocala, but now you where? Where are you at?
So in 89, I'm in Ocala. And 5 years later, I'm in Setúbal, Portugal. I ain't even, not Lisbon, you know, not the capital. I'm in Setúbal, Portugal. And when I arrived to the airport, first of all, I'm scared. So I didn't understand fear until I was alone. And once I knew I was alone and on the other side of the planet, and I knew I couldn't just drive home, fear took over.
Right.
I was like, man, I'm 6,000 miles away from home. I'm 22 years old, and then Pepe drives up in this little car and hands me a handful of money. He's like, here's your first month. And I'm like, damn. Like, what do I do with this money? There's no Bank of America, you know, I don't know. You know, I just got a passport, and the one horror story that most, you know, older athletes tell you is don't give up your passport.
That's
don't
right.
give them your passport.
Right.
So, man, they made the mistake of like 10 days later of asking me for my passport. And I took off. I'm like, I'm out of here. They're trying to keep me over here. They're going to kidnap me. I can't go back home. I called my mom in the middle of the night, man, and I just burst out. I'm gone. They called me in Dallas. Like, so my first contract, I was there for like 2 weeks.
Wow.
I was out just because. And I was like, I didn't know. And when I got back, that's when I realized what you just said. I got to eat. You know, what are you going to do? You didn't get drafted. You know, CBA is not paying a bunch of money. You got to go get your money over in Europe. And I was like, all right. So the next job, I was in Lahti, Finland. Man, it was refreshing. It was where they had the 68 Winter Olympics.
Okay.
So I had a really professional team. The city it was a small city, but it was clean. The people were nice. And that helped me adjust to the European life. And from there on, man, I was, just international.
So talk to us about when you made this transition. Did you plan on playing for how many years? And while you were over there, what were you thinking as you were playing? And, you know, you could have said, I want to come back this way, but you kind of dug in overseas and began to think differently about what it could be to be a businessman potentially in basketball. So
definitely.
Take us there.
Great point, Kevin. Great point.
Well, after year 2, I played in Madrid after that Finland stop. And once I got to Spain, man, it was just, I was like, oh, I love it. So I loved it culturally. The people loved me. I understood that, it just wasn't as dangerous over there as it is over here.
Like in Portugal.
Yeah, man, it was cool. So I went back home after Spain and I tore my right ACL. So it was a little more like, dude, you almost got to go over here because now you're damaged. You still can play,
right,
but you're damaged. So I dug in like, all right, go back overseas. Go get your money because it's tax-free. You got a house, you got a car, you got a driver in some cases. And then the people loved you. So I was like, go back and get your money there. And that's what I did. Once I started understanding that I wanted to go over to Europe or Asia and play, I started getting into the business side of the game and understanding how I got over here. How did I get over here? There's some guy in this country that knows this team that's looking for a player. Well, man, I don't have to have that guy. I can just talk straight to the teams.
There you go.
Or I can talk to this guy in China opposed to having an agent over here in, New York, Chicago. It's like he's here. When I get in trouble in Turkey, I got to go to the Turkish agent.
Right.
So I started, I'm one of the best, networking.
That's the key power move. That's right.
Network. Yeah. So I would see the other American player and I'd ask him, who's your agent? Oh, this is my agent. Let me get your number. Let me get his number. Cool. All right, who's your agent? Let me get his number, your number. And I had a network of agents all over Europe, all over South America, all over Asia. And I became my primary agent. So I became the one that would send the videotape, the one that would call the agent and make sure he talked to the team. And I started representing myself from here with another international agent. So people would be like, how'd you get that job? Well, I really represent myself.
That's right.
But I'm talking to Miguel down in Argentina. You're trying to talk to Tom in Philadelphia to talk to Miguel to talk to the team.
There you go.
And Tom's got 20 more players that make more money than you. So now who's he going to work for, you or them?
Or them.
So
see, that's smart. That's smart business acumen right there, which is interesting.
We call that a power move.
That's
early,
right.
Because it shows power move. But early in your career, you were able to do that. It's fantastic. So I think one of the things that we're trying to make sure people understand is there's opportunity all around.
All around.
And
definitely.
You seem to have grabbed that really, really early in your basketball career.
There you go.
Well, that's
awesome.
And some of the folks here on the Facebook Live is asking, great interview. Who are we speaking? We are speaking with Eric Daly from ericdalytraining.org. He is an international basketball icon, and we have his wife on the line. So how did you and your wife meet?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So Shell's over here smiling, looking like she almost looking like. I never knew that about you. Almost.
It's love. It's love.
Okay. Well, talk to us a little bit about you, but before we do that,
we're gonna
have Esteban
break.
Take us out on the break, and when we get back,
That's
right. You're up next. You ready to shoot?
Okay,
so once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect,
y'all.
So see you after the break.
Yes, we'll be right back.
Yep.
My name is Gil Sampson. I didn't come from a very rich family, and so paying for college would have been very tough. I don't know if I would have been able to go to the college that I went to, and then I don't know if I would have gotten into the career that I am in. So I think Bright Futures has done a lot to shape my life. Got a job as a structural engineer, and I design residential buildings, commercial buildings all over the United States. Because of Bright Futures, I was able to go to college. So many kids just don't even ever get that opportunity, and to be able to do it and not have any debt when I graduated is amazing, and it was all thanks to Bright Futures.
Florida has created more than 1 million jobs in only 5 years, and a great education connects our students to these exciting opportunities. That's why the Florida Lottery has funded Bright Futures scholarships to help over 725,000 students attend college. Because every play is for education. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine.
This is Linda Archie with Taya Temple United Methodist Church. Join us every first and third Saturday of the month at the Village Market, East Tampa, 3206 North Sanchez Street. Free parking, free admission, fresh produce, live entertainment, vendor shopping, and delicious cooked food. Join us every first and third Saturday of the month, beginning June 22nd. For vendor information, call me 1-888-991-2502. See our ad in In Touch News or Florida Sentinel. Please call me at 1-888-991-2502. The Village Market at East Tampa, 3206 North Sanchez Street.
In Touch Radio, the most loved station across the nation. In Touch Radio. Tell a friend. In Touch Radio.
All right, we back. Once again, this is Power Moves. In Touch Radio, reality radio, where everyone is a star. All right, a quick commercial break. Once again, this show is sponsored by Oxygen, which is Juwan Howard's baby company. Yeah, we got the massage oils in here in the house, the R&R Revive and Rejuvenate, and the pain creams. Yep. So trust me, it works because I use it. I'm not as young as I used to be. Oh, we have a model.
Yes.
Check her smile. All right. So speaking of our model, we have Mama Bear, and we're gonna kind of get into how did you guys meet, and obviously and you share your story because you're also a professional basketball player yourself.
Well, how Eric and I met was I saw him walking across the gym. We were actually playing basketball and kind of talking trash to each other. So I thought it was kind of cute, to tell you the truth. So I was just like, and he smiled at me. So it was over from the time that I saw his teeth. And I thought, I was like, oh, he is beautiful.
There you go.
Okay.
So then we played, and we would meet up at the gym every day. And I think one of the last things, we were playing like a shooting game or something of that nature. And he came out and he dunked on me. And I was like, oh, yeah, I like him.
Wow.
Power, control, I like that.
Damn, E, you went there.
You got to dunk on him, man.
I think I was winning the shooting drills. I think I was winning the shooting contest.
So he had to step up.
I made him go there. Yeah.
You went there.
So tell us your basketball story and where you are from, playing to now you're in a real leadership position.
I am.
Awesome.
I am. I had the opportunity to play at the University of Texas.
Okay.
Time they were
dominant. Which one?
Austin.
Okay,
Austin. We're the Longhorns. There's
only
one.
I knew she was gonna go there.
Yeah, we were the only one, and at the time we were a dominant team in women's basketball.
Sure.
So I'm proud to say, that I was a part of a legacy
sure.
or dynasty in some instances. And from there, I didn't really know what I wanted to do as far as after college. I thought at the time that I didn't want to do anything related to sports. So I have a business degree.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, it was so funny. I was a junior executive for Neiman Marcus at the time.
Okay.
So I would sit in the office, and when March Madness came, I would just freak out because I was at a computer, I was missing, and things were going on, and I wanted to be a part
of it.
So I had the opportunity to coach, and I didn't know if I wanted to do it or not, and I tried it, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow.
So
Wow, that's amazing.
I've got the opportunity to coach in Division I, Big 12 and SEC, Florida, South Carolina, TCU, Texas A&M, and also WNBA. I was head coach in San Antonio.
Oh, at the Silver Stars.
Silver Stars,
That's right. You know about that, Kev.
Mm-hmm.
I know a little something about the logo man and woman. Yeah.
That's right.
I do.
Yes, and then from there, of course, a blessing came into our lives, Eric Jr. And that nurturing side of me, I didn't want to drag Eric all the way around the country, and I tried it at first, but it was just something I wanted to be a mom.
Sure.
So I had the opportunity to accept a position at IMG Academy in Bradenton, which is not that far. And
Sure.
still was passionate about the game, still around the game, and I'm a director there of the girls' sports, and really loving what I'm doing. And I get to see my son every single day, which is amazing, and I see his growth and his potential. So.
Yeah, and that puts pressure on the little E. I feel bad for that brother. Because Big E and Mama E are like, wait a minute, what happened there?
Okay, yeah, and academically in the classroom, I know because both of you are excellent in terms of how you look at education and education in life. So let me talk to us a little bit about. You're on the inside, and not so much on every single bit, but talk to us about the platform of ING and what happens when someone comes there, because there are a lot of people hear about it, but in terms of what happens as when you come into a system like that, what's the ultimate goal for IMG for its athletes and their entire experience on and off the field or court?
Well, coming into the system at IMG, it's more on their development. So many people get it confused. It's only elite athletes,
right?
And there are elite athletes there. I'm not going to discredit that at all, but it's more on the development to where we start and try to find a good foundation for them to have a chance at the next level. So we really build and make sure that that they're what we call is the total athlete. They've gone through every facet that you can think of in their life that they will experience at a young age. Okay. So it's a great experience. We often talk about we wish that we could have had that opportunity growing up and see the potential in what it could really build.
Could you share with us, your thoughts on equal pay for women and, this movement that's going on, especially being that you started as a female coach in college and then going into the pros, what impact have you seen and what advice can you share with other, young ladies out there that are interested in coaching on a professional level?
I've been blessed in my career that I was in BCS schools, the big time schools to where my pay was equal, but I did understand that there was and there is some inequality in the sport just because we are women.
Right.
We're doing the same job. We're recruiting the same way.
That's right.
And you don't get that, I guess you say, love. I'm probably was a big advocate, growing up and really seeing the difference, I guess I could say, in the pay. Is it fair? No. Because the work is equal.
Right.
And so I would say to young ladies to make sure that you're aware that you know what you're doing. So when you open your mouth, you've earned that check. It's not one of those things to where just because, I'm at this school, then I deserve to get the same pay. You have to work in order to get those credentials.
That's right.
I think so. I think everybody needs to pay their dues. I was one that paid their dues. And I always give this advice too. Try to use the resources around you. I was one of those that I didn't really hang up with people my age in the coaching field because in my head, and this is not to say that they couldn't help me, but they really couldn't help me.
Right.
But, with the older people, the adults, the people had been in the business for a while, that's probably why my trek was so much. It's easier, but I wouldn't say it was easier, but it was smoother because I was listening to people that were experienced and could open doors for me.
Awesome. So Eric, could you share a little bit about, your work now? I mean, as we fast forward, you've done some amazing things. You have a great partnership with Disney, Wild World, ESPN. You're doing some things with the United Nations. Could you kind of expand on that? And what was that feeling like? After you've completed, your years as a professional and in accomplishing those feats?
Well, first I had to mourn the death of the basketball player.
We all mourned the death.
Yeah, it took me like 2 years to get over. That dude was out of here, and I was like, nah, he's coming back.
That's right.
He'll come back. That's our first thing, the comeback. But I remember my last job over in the Philippines, and she was playing, and I was playing, and she was pregnant. And I was like, okay, I know I'm gonna go over here and hoop. They gonna want me to stay.
Right.
And it's October. My son's due in January, and the season ends in April. I ain't gonna make it.
Right.
I'm like, man. Yeah. So I remember talking to my mom, and I called her from the Philippines, and I said, the phone rang, hello? And as soon as she didn't even say hello, she was like, "Now, Eric," I was like, "I know." I got to get back home. I'm going back. So I mourned the death of him from then for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I missed something when I was in that mourning mode. I missed the travel, and then I understood what I had attained as far as the information.
Right.
Over in these different countries around the world. I was a professional traveler.
Mm-hmm.
For one. I can travel by myself so well. Right. If I get stuck here, cool, it's okay. I know what to do. And then I was like, I love the game. I had been injured, so I got into training, and I went back and I got certified through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. So now I was resume building.
There you go. Okay.
Because I'm like, I got to do something. And if someone comes and wants their son or daughter to train, they may say, "Are you certified?"
Right.
And I just got certified just because. So after that, I started understanding the business of basketball globally, and I knew that my market was not just here in the U.S. I had so many more people all outside of the U.S. that I could contact. And then I knew that as a service of training, I could go to those countries and make a wage and not die.
There you go.
So that was really it. So then I just started building. As I'm building, I'm coming in contact with business people because I didn't have a business degree. I just knew that I needed to get around guys who were businessmen. So I would be at the table with them doing the deal, just watching, listening. And the one thing that I really had a problem with was when someone asked me, how much is your training? And I didn't know how to answer it.
Right.
But one day I saw this guy and he said, "Well, how much is your service?" And he looked right him in the eye and said, "It's $100 an hour." And he didn't budge. And I was like, "Oh, that's how you do it."
There you go.
All right. Well,
that was the power move right there. That was the power move right there. Power lesson.
On that when we come back
after the break.
Seats.
Once again, this is In Touch Radio, reality radio where everyone is a star.
Yes, sir.
This is Power Moves presented by Sports and Entertainment Partners and Pro the CEO.
Right,
see you after the break, baby.
We'll be back. Don't go nowhere. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Donald L. Dowridge Jr., your motivational guru. This is the DLD Motivational Moment. You got up this morning. Eyes sneaking open as the feet hit the floor. Got to thank God for the rise this day. The stove perking the smell of nutrition. Get to your destination with planned unselfish acts. Bulletin board read, do you have any to spare? Happiness and understanding. We all have experienced that one phone call, family member, co-worker, friend has passed on. We don't know our last evening or morning. Get up. Help someone out. Now walk it out. You got up this morning. This has been the DLD Motivational Moment. You can reach out to DLD at DLD282002@yahoo.com or 813-394-5875. Hi, I'm Donald L. Dowridge Jr., your motivational guru. This is the DLD Motivational Moment. One darn second. America, since 2017, is suffering from a serious hiccup. 9/11 is seriously overused in a distasteful manner. Every day, the cops are calling on an innocent person of color. It amazes me that America has come down to this. A person of color becomes a person of interest. Waffle House, the dorm, Starbucks is a few. This is not the lunch counters, sit-ins of the 1960s. 2019, harassed simply for being black and proud. Hold on one darn second. This has been the DLD Motivational Moment. Pre-order my new book, Motivational Moments, at DLD282002@yahoo.com or 813-394-5875.
Smooth Soul is In Touch Radio.
All right, we're back on Power Moves. Celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, attract power, and earn
respect, baby. And this family right here earns a lot of respect in the basketball world. And speaking of which, Kevin, could you kind of expand on where Eric was coming from when he said he earned respect when he learned when he was at that business meeting saying, you know what, how much do you charge per hour? $100 with a puffed up chest and everything. Right? So kind of expand on that, and then how did that evolve into your family life?
Yeah, man, for sure. So I knew then that, before that, I wanted to work for me. And it was the same. I had the same passion in basketball as I do now in business. So that basketball really helped me to start this company and to provide for my family.
Right.
So the first thing you got to do is prepare. So my preparation would be, y'all probably see me now. I'll be up at 4:00 in the morning, running around the house typing a proposal.
Right.
Because I got to prepare. To even go into that office. So from being around these guys in business, they were like, come with me because I was cool. I'm the athlete.
Right.
But I'm like, I'm going to go down there and see what they're doing. I got to see what they're doing so I can take some of those traits into the basketball world, because the most people who are doing business in the basketball world are coaches.
Right.
They're not businessmen. So I'm the new age 2.0 businessman in the basketball world because I played it.
That's right.
And I'm in business, making the dollar for myself.
Right.
So, I was like, well, now just continue to learn, continue to grow, build your resume, make $1 on the side so you can continue to go. And for all those entrepreneurs out there that's trying to, make it in their field, the first thing you got to do is sacrifice. And it was difficult at first. I had 2 houses, two BMWs, and I make money on the left, give it to the right. And the money on the left, give it to the right. And I was like, wait a minute. Why you got these cars and all that? For what? Nobody even comes over here.
Right.
Why you got all this stuff? You don't need that.
Yeah.
Okay, now get rid of it, downsize, and build your company.
Right.
Build your brand. And I got into all of that and learning, and I would watch people. I watch Shark Tank. I look at them, I'm like, man, you could do it yourself.
Yeah,
you gotta ask them.
Shout out for Damon John, my boy.
Yeah. So, those are some of the things the aspects of business that I put into from the business world into the basketball world to continue to grow. So I'm in my 14th year with Daily Training. And some of my guys,
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Some people like, man, you hadn't had a job yet. I'm like, I'm not. I'm working for me. Because I value my freedom more so than the dollar. I've had job offers, and I got a degree from TCU, but I was like, man, I want to work for myself so I can be with my family.
Speaking of family.
So let's talk to Shell on this. Obviously, your husband's very passionate about what he's done. And, I'm definitely a big fan of you all as a family. You've been married as a couple. How many years now? 17. Awesome.
17.
That's huge.
Say it one more time.
17.
Let's get some applause because not too many people stay married. That's huge. Black excellence in the house.
But it's not. We're friends. We were friends first, and I think that's why we've been able to sustain for as long as we have, because we have been friends.
Right, and that's important when you're in a business of sport. You have to travel, and you have to sacrifice, but one of the things too is you have a family and you have a child together, and your son is obviously with you all a lot. So
and he's with us today. He's in the back, so we'll be bringing him out soon.
Yeah, we'll be getting him out here. But talk to our audience just about what it takes to be in close proximities with each other. Y'all do work together and you do life together, and you're obviously have a son who's emerging in his sport, and you guys have done an excellent job thus far in helping him come into this the right way. So what are some of the things you could give people who are listening about marriage, working hard together, raising your son, and really helping him get to the level of success that he's having so far, and to keep that desire for yourselves and for him really high? What are some of the things you would recommend or suggest to people?
Well, one of the things I think that we always keep first and in the front of our minds is our family unit. We get teased a lot is that we travel in threes, which is okay with us. And I think Eric has set a great tone as to how he wants his child raised, and and the family unit to be. So he is the leader.
Okay.
But I am the co-leader.
That's right. That's right.
So with that being said, I have a vision for Eric's growth as well, and I give him a little bit of mom, but then he has that coach side as well. So it's I'm a disciplinary. I really pay attention to details when it comes to him, how he acts, how he moves, how he looks, because I'm always thinking of his future.
In mind.
Being a head coach in a professional realm and also being a GM, I know what they look for.
That's right.
After being a recruiter for a number of years, I know what they look for, and I know they're going to pick my son apart. And I want him to still shine bright regardless of whatever that they see. So I'm always on him about how to carry himself, how to speak. Everybody's always watching you, whether you think so or not. But it's a challenge at times, and he gets ripped pretty hard from me, from me and his dad. On the court. Eric trains him.
Right.
And I sit back and I watch, but also watch Eric Jr.'s demeanor, how he's receiving those things. And at some point, there's that conflict of dad and coach, which I am the buffer in between because I'm on both sides.
I see you smiling, senior.
Come on in this.
But he thinks I'm mom trying to save him, but I'm really not. I'm really
it's cool,
not.
Though, the great ones, they've been trained hard. I go back to even just the animals, man. The lion, he ain't just jumping through that ring of fire just because, man. He's been trained. If you see the training that goes behind it, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Before you go to war, it's brutal.
That's right.
Nobody's they think they're in football training camp smiling. They don't want to go to preseason. It's brutal, but if you want to be at that elite level in life, period, it's going to be hard work. Yeah. Man, it's going to be that. So that's what's going on. He ain't supposed to like it. If it was fun and, all just giddy, then his homeboys will be doing it with him.
That's right.
Yeah, everybody will want to
they don't want to get up at 6.
Yeah.
They don't want to go to the gym every day. They don't want to, come home and talk about it. And he don't want to do it all the time either. But you got to continue to push. You can't stop. That's where most coaches, that's why it's hard for me to give him to a coach, because they're not going to push him past the point of greatness to become great.
Right.
You got to get pushed past a point.
That's right.
And they can't always touch those buttons.
What's interesting is, one of my associates was at the USA basketball camp in Colorado with you guys, and he was like, "Yeah, man, there was this family here that started speaking about what it takes to parent an athlete." And kudos to you guys, because you set a precedent, and I think it would be interesting, and it's almost like a challenge, but I think you guys could do a platform, whether parents helping their children become not professional athletes, but be the best that they can be in general, right? Because the fact that you guys went in as a unit spoke volumes. So I want to applaud you guys for what you do in terms of keeping the family together. You guys have a mission. You like you said, Shell, that while dad and son are doing their thing, you already have a different vision and a totally different outlook. And when it comes down to running a business, you have to have both perspectives. So, once again, I just want to applaud you guys for that, which brings me to Esteban, my man. So it brings me to, so how are you looking to expand that internationally? Because like I said, I think by you guys being a unit, a family unit, and you guys are evolving, and E-Junior is like 2.0 for you, but you have a passion for global awareness and culture. And nowadays, I feel that we are so myopic in about United States, and no matter what your affiliation, I'm definitely all about America, right? But I do understand the importance of, if I'm traveling, I don't want to be a target either, right? So, kind of, could you expand on your vibe with international relations and and how do you see
basketball? I was
going
to say one of the things we were fortunate to do is the United Nations project.
That's
Thinking
right.
like that, I believe, is where he's talking about.
Yeah.
Build like that.
Well, back in 2013, I was presented with the award with the Millennium Development Goals with the United Nations through their Athletes and Artists program. And I got a chance to touch a lot of different countries. So I understood that their plight was the same as ours.
Right.
You know, they wanted their young kids to develop and be the best. And that's what everything kind of boils down to. So with being a part of that, again, I was growing my resume.
That's right.
And now for 6 years, I've been sitting on that board. And it just helps me to reach out to players all over the world and give them that information. And what he was referring to was we did the United Nations Day of Sport at IMG Academy back in 2016, was it?
2016, yeah. 2016.
And we had about 40 countries of delegates that were just coming there to learn how to help their young players just develop. They didn't know.
Right.
So I was like, wow, we take for granted the info we have.
Absolutely.
And they were like, well, how do you train them? How do you make them, college ready? So we gave a seminar for 2 days. And it was good, man.
Yeah,
so
it was powerful.
That's powerful.
And I still hear from one of the athletes
through
Twitter. He, messages me just on Coach Carr. I really need help with how we are approaching sport in my country.
Right.
What would you advise me if I wanted to do this? So it manifests itself because of the work that you led, and we had a great team. Me, you, Corey.
That's right.
And what's my man name down in Naples?
The other Corey.
Yeah.
Two Corys.
Yeah. Just awesome.
Yeah.
So this is a manifestation of the work that you think globally, not just domestically, and that's a huge thinking point for all of us, that we need to be more open about where business can come from.
That's right.
And
that's
how to
right.
create our relations. So, are we ready for break here? We're gonna go on break, and we're gonna come back with
E 2.0.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Power Moves.
Power Moves.
Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Dale Day. Join me every Monday at 7 p.m. for Jazz at Miss Connie's house, bringing you the smoothest jazz and the coolest guests right here on In Touch Radio.
Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. You need medical or a lawyer. I got the men to do the legwork for you. We tried the other ones before, so believe me. 100 now, 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Call Ricky, he coming. He taking care of state of Florida. Grab a pen and sundown. 1-800-361-RICK. That's 1-800-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, plus your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 1-800-361-RICK. Call Ricky, ask Ricky. It's a legal medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and getting you the best medical treatment and recovery. Now 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
In Touch Radio, where you can listen to a cruising flow of smooth soul and jazz, today's R&B, a fun touch of hip-hop and gospel.
All my music on one station.
Giving you a buffet of music, news, and entertainment. We're In Touch Radio.
All right, y'all. We're back.
So once again,
go ahead.
This is Power Moves and In Touch Radio, reality radio where everyone is a star.
Yes,
real quick,
sir.
Power Couples Ball happening on September 21st. If you are a power couple, you need to be at that event. Tickets are $100 each. Yes, sir. And
all right, so we're back.
We're back.
So we're here with the father, Eric Daly Sr. Now we're with Eric Daly Jr. Yes, you are seeing a father-son duo in the studio. The Dalys are with us. Thank you, guys. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Glad that you are here. You are someone who has, in your early tenure in sport, you came into the basketball world with two great examples. Talk to us a little bit about your parents and their support for you as a young man coming into basketball. And
they can't do nothing to you.
So seriously, talk about mom and dad in terms of how you came into basketball.
Well, I was basically born into it.
Okay.
Literally.
Yeah. Dad played overseas in college. Mom coached pro. So I was just raised around it ever since I was little. I've been around the game on the floors and stuff at the games, at my mom's games. My dad taking me to the gym when he trains people. Then later on, that became me.
Okay.
It's just a part of my life.
So talk to us about, how did you know you loved basketball, and when was the moment you realized that you had a little game?
Wow. Well, I always had like a love for it, because when you born into something, you don't really know nothing else.
Right. Good point.
Then I started realizing I was like I could do this for real when I was around like 10, 11, playing like rec league and killing everybody in rec league. Then as I got older, I was like, yeah, I can go pro with this.
Okay. All right. So you see basketball as a big part of your future, but talk to us about what it takes, or the kind of work that you've been doing as a student in the classroom, because you go to IMG Academy,
yes,
right?
Sir.
And then talk to us about the work that you put in as a student and an athlete there to be your very best.
First thing is not easy at all.
Okay. What do you mean by that? Go ahead.
Work. It's just work, consistently work, no days off. Every day waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, going to the gym. Then right after that, you got practice like 8. 6 to 7, get a little work in with my dad. Practice at 8. 8 to like 11, we practice with my team, weights and all that. Then go to school at 12.
And you go from school to 12 to like
12 to 6. It's like 12 to 6.
Wow. So you doing six? You doing 12-hour days easy?
Yeah. It's rough, but hey, I make it work.
So
wow. So what do you do during your downtime to kind of, take all this in, right? You play video games,
Yeah, I definitely play video games. I play video games. I like sleeping. That's my favorite thing. Sleep, eat, and play video games other than basketball and school. So I'm just trying to, it's hard living a normal life as a hooper. And like now, because like they cutting years off our life because we can go to the league early now.
Okay.
Starting to go to the league.
So what do you, if you were to give us some things that you are interested in beyond basketball, do you like art? Do you like music?
I love music.
Okay. Talk to us about
how you going to talk to a 16-year-old about art?
Because I heard that you like art. So I just want to hear a little bit about, what are some of the likes that you have out there that people wouldn't necessarily know.
Okay. You got the inside scoop.
Well, I like making music actually.
Okay,
I make beats on my computer a lot when I'm bored or something. If I had downtime, I play a lot of video games. Really good at 2K.
Okay.
Yeah. So shout out to Marcus Howard and the Tag family. We might have to recruit little E Jr. with the 2K.
Yes,
That's
sir.
Excellent.
Yeah, but other than that, I just like hanging out with friends. I just try to live a normal life inside this.
What about movies? You got a favorite movie, man?
John Wick.
John Wick.
That's my favorite movie right there.
Okay, what does John Wick represent for you, man?
I don't know. He just a dog, but he quiet.
Shaka.
Yeah, Shaka Zulu. That's another favorite series I watch.
Oh wow. Okay. Excellent. Wow, I got some historical culture going on. So talk to us about your dad. He's sitting right here. That's your dad, but that's also your coach.
Yeah.
What is it like working with him daily? No put on word.
Well, it's my dad, so he gonna push me harder than any coach could, any person in this world could, and it's hard sometimes, but I gotta get through it, and I do get through it. Okay. So we gonna make it work. He make me be the best I can and do the best I can in everything I do.
So awesome. Where we at with the one-on-one tournament?
No, he can't beat me. He can't beat me. He can't beat me.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you.
now he's jumping in.
I know I had to ask that power question right there.
I told him Christmas time, I said, look, man, I'm done, man, because either I'm going to hurt you or you're going to hurt me. So, 6'6", not jumping up at the top of the square, man, look, man, I ain't got time to be doing all that. But I do have one win on tape. I got it. And so, a little later on in life, I'm going to show it to him.
All right. That is awesome.
That don't count, though. I couldn't jump like I can now.
Yeah, man.
Well, you know, what's funny, because I remember the videos with your dad when he was like, yeah, he's trying to jump, he barely could touch the rim, and then now you are like bananas.
Yeah.
you like a jumping frog. So, you know, when you hear your dad keep pushing you and you're like, man, he's killing me, like, dang, I gotta go home and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden you see results, you know, what do you think?
Wow. I think I just gotta keep listening to him.
Hey, wow, that's deep. Because
awesome.
you know, a lot of young kids would be like, "Man, I'm not gonna say nothing. Man.
Right.
You know, I'm not gonna admit it." But that's huge of you to be humble to say that.
When your guys that saw us at USA, they had a question for the parents on the board, and the question was, "Why are you here?" It was a question to the parents, and everybody chimed in. And I got, when I went up there, I answered it. I said, I'm here because it's confirmation. And they were like, what confirmation? Confirmation to my son. And now he hear me all day long out there. The first thing was we practiced with the molten ball, and he was like, how you know they're gonna have molten balls? And when he went into the first day of practice, they had 100 molten balls. I was like, yeah. And I was like, man, them boys 6'8", 6'9", they gonna be jumping at you, man. And at the USA, they was jumping at him. I was like, yeah, I'm right. Okay, I ain't gonna say nothing. He's just gonna come up to me. So now, you know, I push him, and he don't understand that he's so far ahead. It's like when you run in a race, you so far ahead, you don't see nobody. You might think you behind.
Right.
So even last night, it was crazy. I walked into his room. It was about 11 o'clock. I said, yo, check this video out. And there was a guy talking about passive income. And he was like, man, I'm 15. I'm like, that's okay. When it's time, you gonna understand passive income. And now within his life, he has opportunity to attain that, because you gotta have that base where you're making your earned income.
That's right.
And then you go out and you create that studio that you can make your beats, or somebody, or that dealership, or that daily training,
or invest in a video game.
Hey, you know, it's a perfect example of that you need to follow is Greg Anthony.
Yes, sir.
Because Greg Anthony, when he was in college, he had his own business. So we gonna wrap it up, man.
Yeah, but leave us some inspiration for the young people who are coming along. What would you say to the young person who's trying to get there, and you still have a way to go? But what is it that you would like to leave for the younger people here trying to work hard and get somewhere?
Just listen to your dad. He gonna have the best interest. Okay. I know some days it's gonna be hard. Like, you don't want to listen. He don't know nothing. But just give him attention.
So listen to your parents.
And it's not only your dad, because some of these folks don't even. I mean, you're fortunate because you have a mother and a father. So
listen to your parents.
So really, it's listening to your parents, right? You listen to your mom as well, right? One last thing I want to share, because the theme of this episode is opportunity. What opportunities are coming your way that you can't wait to take advantage of?
Hopefully to play on the USA U17 national team.
Awesome,
all right.
Hey, well, we're going to hope for that for you.
Yes, we are.
We're going to hope, obviously, you graduate and then one day get to that next level, and we all see you. And we'll continue to be proud of you. Thank you, Eric, for coming on. Thank you, wife, Shell.
E Junior. Once again, this is Power Moves with celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. It's not a game over here, baby.
Yes.
This is Power Moves. See you next week, baby.
Yes, we out. Thank you, guys.
if I alarmed you. I don't mean to bother you, I just wanna get you to pause and slow your walk so maybe we can talk and I can try to charm you. I'm just trying to find out who you are. I don't mean to come off like a telemarketer. I ain't no hood, no crook, no robber. I just want a part of your heart I can borrow sometimes. And maybe I can call you up sometimes. And maybe I can take you out sometimes. So let's exchange visits and later arrange visits, either your place or mine. This a different type of commitment. I'm talking about a true friendship. Someone I can depend on and be down no matter what. Let me know if you with it, cause girl, it'll be fly if you want my B-U-E-D-Y. Don't be shy, give it a try. I could be yours and you can be mine, girl. I can't lie, it'll be fly if you want my B-U-E-D-Y. Don't be shy, give it a try. I could be yours and you can be mine. Sorry if I come off disrespectful or my convo is a little bit too sexual, but damn, it's incredible. Be more flexible, cause the context of this text is special. But wait, let me explain it. A buddy is an equal beneficial arrangement. A buddy is a buddy that don't be complaining when his or her buddy ain't the buddy that came with sometimes. And maybe I can call you up, and maybe I can take you out. So let's exchange digits and later arrange visits, either your place or mine. It's a different type of commitment. I'm talking about a true friendship. Someone I can depend on to be down no matter what. Let me know if you're with it, cause girl, it'll be fly if you were my B-U-D-D-Y. Don't be shy, no, give it a try. I could be yours and you can be mine, girl. I can't lie, it'll be fly. If you were my B-U-D-D-Y. If you were my B-U-D-D-Y, give it a try. I could be yours, you can be mine. Oh, baby, what I'm really trying to say is the definition of a real buddy is she's that one, wanna have fun, ride shotgun through the city with me. Together there's no limit to what we can do, and once we in it, girl, it's all about so baby, what you say, don't pass this by, you know, cause girl, you were my B-U-D-D-Y. If you were my B-U-D-D-Y, give it a try. I could be yours, I could be yours, and you could be. No, it'll be fly if you were my B-U-D-D-Y. If you were my B-U-D-D-Y, give it a try. I could be yours, I could be yours, and you can be mine. It'll be fly if you were my B-U-D-D-Y. Don't be shy, give it a try. I could be yours, and you could be mine, girl. I can't lie, it'll be fly. If you were my B-U-D-D-Y. Don't be shy, no, give it a try. I could be yours, you could be
Greetings to you. This is Brother James Muhammad, a student in the ministry of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and a very proud member of the Nation of Islam, coming to you live once again on Closing the Gap. And this show, we are so thankful to Almighty God Allah that it has been extended to us. And as you all know, we always begin our program with expressions of gratitude. For whatever we are of good, whatever we do of good, we do not do it in and of and by ourselves, and whatever we are of good, we certainly are not that in and of and by ourselves. All of us have contributing factors in our lives, some good, some bad. But as the scripture says, God is good all the time, and by his permission, people cross our paths and become a part of our lives, so it's all good, as the expression goes. And so we begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the one God to whom all praise is due, the Lord of the worlds. We thank Almighty God Allah for his merciful and prophetic intervention in our affairs, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, the great Mahdi. We thank him for raising up from our midst his messenger, Messiah, and now we know him to be the exalted Christ, the one whom the world has been awaiting and expecting for the past 2,000 years. The man of whom I speak is the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we are so indebted to him and grateful for him and by him for his teaching one and raising one and guiding one and preparing one to sit in his seat in his absence as the father over the house. We thank Allah and the most honorable Elijah Muhammad for the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I refer to him as my personal redeemer. We want to also thank our dear brother Daryl Johnson, the CEO of In Touch News, and a very, very helpful, conscious, and aware brother. We thank him and his family for extending to us this great opportunity to share with you some of the message of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as it relates to current events, as it relates to historical events, as it relates to scripture, and as it relates to prophecy. We thank Allah for him, and in their names, I'm so very happy to greet all of you once again with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. I don't want to leave out my brother who is such a valuable assistant here in this program. Not my assistant, but he assists in the broadcasting of this program. Our dear brother Esteban, who's always behind the scenes, working the boards and working the phone, and we thank Allah for him. So, let's begin. There's so much happening. And of course, we have outlets, news outlets, whether they are electronic or periodical, that keep us abreast, at least of the distillation of current events from a particular perspective, which is, of course, the broader society of America and the world. But I always ask of us that we would pursue other aspects and sources of news. You know, brothers and sisters, and those of you who are listening, we have got to pursue other avenues published by and for Black people and people of color, not to the exclusion of all ethnicities and of all races. However, I state Black perspective because Black perspective has always been locked out, left out of the mass media. And so we who are responsible to tell our story must at some point have avenues through which we can tell our story, and not only our story, but the story of others, the story of international affairs, the story of national affairs, the story of local affairs. The Final Call newspaper. You see the brothers out on the highways and the byways. As a matter of fact, I was out there myself for the first time in a long time, and what impacted me mostly was the consistency and persistency of our condition as a people. It appears to remain the same. But I want to go into some solutions to that problem found in the Final Call and also in Scripture. The title of this week's final call is God Has Come to Answer Our Cry for Justice. And you have repeatedly heard me bring to you, our listening audience, some of the points of what the Muslims want, particularly points 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3 of what the Muslims want are desires and necessities that all people need, all people pursue. First of which is freedom, the second of which is justice, the third of which is equality. And we as a people, not only black people, but people of color everywhere in America and throughout the world, but particularly in America, we have tried and worked through every avenue of access, trying to realize these essentials of life. But history has recorded that according to the political, social, cultural, and economic systems of America and their framework, we find that we have to consider point number 4, which simply states, encapsulating it, we believe that our people who are descendants from slaves should be allowed to establish a separate state or territory of our own, either on this continent and elsewhere. We believe that the land to which we are referring should be fertile and minerally rich, with an outlet to the sea. We believe that because of our suffering here in America and the contributions to this country, I'm talking about the transatlantic slave trade, and all of what we are responsible for being the foundational builders of here in America, we believe that the powers in America, the governmental powers, should supply our needs in this separate state or territory for 20 to 25 years until we are able to produce and supply our own needs. Well, at a time when the country, at least on the surface of things, are clamoring about, we should be together. We should seek unity. We should seek getting along with everybody. And I agree. But unity does not necessarily mean that we have to be in the same place at the same time. Whenever black people or people of color talk about separate lives or separate areas in which we do commerce and we pursue our education, control our politics, control our economics, then the broader society goes up in an uproar. And I wonder why that is. 400 years of history has taught us that we will never reach parity economically, socially, politically, no matter what one of us are appointed or elected to any political position. Our communities remain the same. Democrats come and Democrats go. Republicans come and Republicans go. But travel the land and see what condition the masses of black people are in. It remains consistently and persistently the same. And since now we have pursued every possible solution to that problem, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has stated, God has come to answer our cry for justice. Let's look at a scriptural foundation and justification for separation. In Genesis, the 15th chapter, the 13th, 14th, and 15th verses, we read, "And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. He said unto Abraham," he meaning God, "know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Now let us stop and think about this prophecy to Abraham, then called Abram. It's talking about his seed that will sojourn in a land that is not theirs. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that the whole earth belongs to the original family of the earth. That is the black people of the earth and the people of color on the earth. They are all original and aboriginal. So if we talk about the whole earth belonging to the people of color, black people, then how can we justify our relationship to this particular scripture when it states that the seed of Abraham will be in a land that is not theirs? The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that all 196,940,000 square miles of earth belongs to the original family of the earth. It all belongs to us. But he also taught us that we have been and lived in and searched in every part of the earth and chosen the best part for ourselves. So in the statement, a land that is not theirs, it is not that this country does not belong to the original people. Yes, it does. The Native American family is a member of the original family, and this land belonged to the original family, the Native Americans, until a stranger came in, yes, an immigrant, an illegal immigrant came in, deceived, robbed, pillaged, and murdered, and is now in the seat of ownership of this land called America. Well, we have chosen the best part for ourselves. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the best part is at the holy city, Mecca. Now, why is that the best part when it's made up of desert? It's not talking necessarily about geography. It's talking about the best in the sense of righteous adherence to the law of God, to the word of God, to the will and the way of God. Or Muslim is one by definition who submits his or her will to do the will of God. As we continue on, I want to make the announcement that those of you who'd like to join the discussion, call in, ask a question, make a comment, or even offer a critique, you can join the discussion by dialing in at 813-444-9588. Once again, that's 813-444-9588. And so let us continue. Best in this regard does not mean geographical richness as such. It means the best in obedience. At the time of the writing, Muslims who were in obedience to God were in the best stead according to the will, the way, the law of God. I don't know necessarily if that remains consistent today, because the Holy Quran teaches us that corruption has appeared on the land and on the sea on account of what man's hands have wrought. And so therefore, what man's hands have wrought have reached out globally and corrupted that which was once pure, righteous. But know of a surety, Abram, that your seed will be a seed, or will be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them. Them meaning who? Those who were in possession of that particular land, because at that time, in 1555, when our fathers were brutally kidnapped from their native land and people and deposited on the shores of Jamestown, Virginia, it wasn't 1619, it was actually 1555. We were deposited in a land that was not ours. And of course, history records our servitude, our chattel slavery that we had to endure for over 400 years. Well, to put it bluntly, we are the focal people, or the focus people of that particular scripture. The black man and woman of America. But here God also states in the 14th verse of that same chapter, chapter 15 of the Genesis, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. It's referring to the people who were in chattel slavery, to the broader society here in America. And it continues, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. Well, that's who we are. You don't know it, and upon hearing it, you may not accept it. But we are the people of that prophecy, not those who have usurped that area of land called Palestine and falsely claimed it for themselves. I know you're going to call us anti-Semitic, but the reality of it is that land does not belong to them. They usurped it through manipulations and deal making. I would ask all of those of you who are listening to go and research the Balfour Agreement and see how those so-called Jews supplanted the people of that area and now displaced the people of that area, and now they have claimed it in an apartheid condition for themselves. I'm not saying this out of hatred. I'm not saying this out of bigotry, and I certainly am not saying it out of anti-Semitism. I am saying it because it is true. God has to come to answer our cry for justice. And so let us now begin reading the message of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, found in the latest Final Call newspaper. On page 20, the article begins. Hope everybody's all right. Let's begin. God has come to answer our cry for justice by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Editor's note: the following article contains excerpts from the Sunday, November 29th, 2015 address of the same name delivered by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan live via webcast from Mosque Mariam in Chicago, Illinois. This message is now available at store.finalcall.com in its entirety on MP3, DVD, CD formats, or by calling 1-866-602-1230, extension 200. Let's begin. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, particularly that Adam that was in the garden 6,000 years ago that is referred to in the Genesis was not the first human being. This is an inarguable fact. Well, after all, if you read further on in Scripture, you will see that once Cain killed Abel, he was banished out of the garden or away from the garden into the land of Nod, east of Eden, and in that land he found his wife. Well, that contradicts totally the fact that Adam and Eve were the only people there. Well, how could Cain travel out of Eden, east of Eden, to the land of Nod and find his wife? Who produced his wife? When was she produced? How was she produced? She certainly did not come from the loins of Adam, and she didn't come from the womb of Eve. There's a time problem there. Well, we don't have to waste too much time debunking that misunderstanding. Let's continue. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that the name Eve represents the evening, or the time at which the sun is declining. And at that time, symbolically, darkness came over the mind of Adam because he contemplated disobeying God by eating of a condemned and particular poisonous tree. Well, it's not talking about the fruit. It's not talking about an apple or an orange or some other fruit, some other citrus. But it's talking about symbolically doctrine, a body of knowledge that opened up Adam's eyes to an evil aspect of his own mind, and in the darkness of the state of his mind, as he contemplated disobeying God, the evening, or in the darkness when the wisdom of God, the righteousness of Adam was setting in his mind, he fell victim to a body of knowledge. Now, it says that the serpent beguiled Eve, and the serpent crawled up to Eve and whispered in her ear. Well, come on, brothers and sisters. Do snakes talk today? And if they don't talk today, they certainly didn't talk 6,000 years ago. And we really have to stop. I want to ask you preachers in the churches, doesn't matter what denomination, please stop forwarding that kind of foolishness. Animals don't talk. I'm going to say that again. Snakes and lizards and mice and lions and tigers and bears and dogs and cats, they don't talk. They don't talk now, and they didn't talk 6,000 years ago in the garden. It's all symbolic. The serpent represents the serpentine or serpentine mind of the human being that contemplates both good and evil. We'll get right back into that when we come back from a commercial break. You're listening to Closing the Gap. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
Hi, this is Dr. Veronica Walters, also known as Dr. V, the head of school at the Walters Academy for Entrepreneurship, a place that we like to call The Way, where we're educating today's youthpreneurs to be tomorrow's billionaires through social entrepreneurship. Do you have a student who's bored, frustrated, gifted, inquisitive, creative, business-minded? Then maybe you need to check The Way out. Listen, we have an educational platform that allows for individualized instruction. It's strength-based, project-based, and designed to help your student become the absolute best they can while starting their own business and being an entrepreneur. If you're looking for something different and you need to find a more excellent way, then you need to visit us at The Way. That's The Way, www.thewaetampa.org. Or you can call us at 813-603-7923. We look forward to showing your student a more excellent way at The Way.
In Touch Radio, where you can listen to a cruising flow of smooth soul and jazz, today's R&B, a fun touch of hip-hop and gospel.
All my music on one station.
Giving you a buffet of music, news, and entertainment. We're In Touch Radio.
Greetings to you, and we're back on Closing the Gap. This is your host, Brother James Muhammad, and we're reading from the latest Final Call newspaper, the headlining article by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan entitled, God Has Come to Answer Our Cry for Justice. But before we continue reading, I just want to say that as a representative of the Honorable, or let me say a spokesperson of the word of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I'm studying to be a representative of his. To represent means to represent him again, not just in word, but in actions, in moral conduct, in integrity of character. I have not yet developed to the extent that I can say that I have achieved that. But I can say that I, as a spokesperson of his word, can repeat his message to you. I'm studying, I'm living, I'm learning, and I'm striving to be one day a representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But as such, I must say that and certainly this is no slight on anyone. We are not advocates, of course, of the eating of pork, and we're not advocates of smoking cigars or anything else of that nature. And we must say that these commercials have no relationship to this particular show. Now let's begin. Again. Once again, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan states, now they put the blame on you, sisters. That's terrible to say that the poor sister Eve got Adam to rebel against God. I don't think you should take that any longer, sisters. That's not your fault. But the scriptures teaches the serpent started talking to Eve, and she became susceptible to his deceitful interpretation of God's instruction. Women are very powerful because even some pillow talk caused Brother Adam to disobey God, and the rest is history. The world that we live in is in a world of rebellion. Well, the scripture says, this is the Bible, by one man, not woman, not Eve, But by one man sin entered into the world, and by sin death. Therefore all in Adam die. I want to repeat that. By one man sin entered into the world, and by sin death. Therefore all in Adam die. But all in Christ will be made alive. Well, that does away with that foolish and unjustified blaming of the woman for the sins of the man. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, there is no such thing as a no good woman. Every no good woman was made no good by a no good man. Let's continue. God didn't lie to Adam when he said, don't eat of the fruit of this tree, because the day you eat of it, you will surely die. Satan comes along and says, physically dead people, we believe in a mental, spiritual, moral resurrection, and our people in these aspects of life, and in fact mostly all in America and throughout the world, are spiritually, mentally, morally dead. And so we believe in resurrection, and we believe that the resurrection process should begin here in America with the so-called American Negro, the African American, the black man and woman, because we are the deadest of the dead. Our eyes did come open, he continues, before we were blinded to the lower nature of self. But when you rebel against God, who says in the scripture, my ways are not your ways, my thoughts are not your thoughts. I am from above while you are from beneath. Well, what happened that his way is not ours? His thoughts are not ours. What happened? Our eyes became open to the lower nature of the human being, and instead of growing up and reflecting God, we grew up in a world where evil has become the order of the day. And so, death has passed to all men. We are not what we could be. We are not what we should be. We are made in America, and I want us to take that into consideration. Certainly, we are responsible for ourselves. We cannot deny that we have great responsibility in the condition and for the condition we're in. Responsibility is not fault. Responsibility is not blame. But because we have pursued a solution to our problem and a change coming from the government of America, coming from the broader society of America, and we have yet to receive it, then we have the great responsibility of changing our own condition. So in the Quran, the book of guidance of the Muslims, it reads, Allah God does not change the condition of a people until they themselves first change their condition. And it simply means we're not going to change our condition or have our condition changed until we take the reins of responsibility and do that for ourselves. Let's continue. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan writes, you know, when I was coming up, anything that was made in America was supposed to be better. You're right. A better devil, a better wicked one. You learn all the folkways and mores of a wicked society, and we have adopted their method of life, which is a form of death. The Bible teaches, there's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the ends thereof are the ways of death. So today is called a day of resurrection. We have to be raised from the mental, moral, social, political, educational state of death. A cry from a human is a prayer for deliverance. How do you know that people are dead? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan asks. They're not engaged in the business of life. What is the business of life? God gives every creature the desire to do something for itself. Have you ever seen a black bird in a line looking to the white bird to give it something to eat? That's a strange picture, isn't it? But no creature that God created is without the ability to make a home for itself, to guard itself against the enemy of itself. True? But look at you. Beautiful black brothers and sisters, look at you. We're sitting around asking the white man to respect us as a man. But we think like little boys. Little boys, you know, they come to daddy. Daddy, can I have? Or mama, can I have? And naturally, mom has the power then to tell you what room you stay in. What time you get up in the morning. And if you go out, be back by such and such a time. This is a dictatorship. When you are not a man or a woman enough to run your own affairs, you live under somebody's dictates other than your own. Here we are now, 460 years from the time that our fathers set the soles of their feet in North America, and our cry is, today, justice. We want justice. We want fair dealing. And what answer are we getting? Consider when a baby cries, and in November in Compton, California, they found one buried under some asphalt. It was just a few hours old, but somebody heard a cry. I mean, the way God has created life, a baby, whether 2 years old or 2 months old, can cry in a way that the voice is pitched against the sounding chamber, the area between your nose and mouth. And if the voice is pitched in the right way, it can produce a bellowing sound. But the baby, just 2 days old, was crying. Somebody heard the cry and dug the asphalt away and found a child alive. And the news said the child is all right. There has to be a God somewhere. Now, my question is, how long have we cried? Our fathers cried on the ship that brought them here to be delivered, and some jumped in the sea to the open mouths of sharks rather than to be made a slave. Others suffered 3 months in the holds of ships, chained, urinating, defecating, and living in their filth. Many died, and others, the strongest, made it to the shores of America. The Middle Passage was like a sifter. It sifted out the weaker ones. But brothers and sisters, we were fortunate because our fathers made it, and from them we came. You are so much stronger than you give yourselves credit for being, because our fathers endured much. The cry seemed to go unanswered. A cry from a human is a prayer for deliverance. A cry from a baby could mean, could you change my diaper, please? I have gas. Would you burp me, please? My diaper is full of something, and my skin is irritated. Would you put salve on it, please? However, babies can't talk, but a wise mother knows exactly what the sound is. There was a woman estranged from birth. In fact, people like her are always considered very strange. We have some like that among us. They're really geniuses, but we are not equipped to handle people with high intelligence and vision. This was a white lady. She knew whales. Whenever the whale made a sound, she knew what the sound meant. She knew when the whale was crying. She knew when the whale had a need, wasn't feeling well. She studied the whale to the point where every sound that the whale made, she understood it. And she wrote a book concerning it that is like a guidebook to those who deal with whales. Our cry has been heard. Our cry has been heard not for a day, not for a week, not for a year, but for centuries. And it appeared that nobody heard our cry. The universal law of justice that makes demand on every form of savagery. You know, the horrible way that our fathers and mothers died in slavery, we knew the whip and the lash, and we knew the horror of the brutality of our former slave masters. I heard a program on CNN one morning where they were talking about the absolute savagery of this group called the ISIS, how they tortured people, how they cut off the heads of people, lowered people into a cage, into a fire, and burned them alive. People are saying, oh my God, this is savagery. This is savagery. And if I were in the studio, I would show them a picture of black folk hanging. I would show them a picture of white folks standing around like it was a picnic. I would show them black bodies burned, and I would show them white people taking off their heads or taking off the heads of our slave ancestors. Was that savagery? So if the killers of the Western man are savage, where did they learn it from? Now, I'm not apologizing for that behavior, but I want to give you context. You see, took a young black girl. She may have been 11 or 12. He wanted to show his strength, so he took his sword and struck her in the head and split her body in half. I didn't write that book, but I read it. You know, sometimes when I read some of the history of our sojourn here in America and throughout the Caribbean under the cruel hand of the slave master and the slave maker, it gives me pause to think, to reflect, and to remember. Many of those who might be listening to this particular broadcast may say, why is the brother going back into that painful history? The people today are not responsible for what went on 150 years or 200 years or 300 years or 400 years ago. So why is he constantly referencing that painful history? Yes, it is painful to listen to, is it? And had some activity or some act of repair been engaged in to repair the damage that that era produced in black people, then I wouldn't necessarily have to be talking about it 460 years later. There would be no need for an article bringing us back to that history and reading it and reliving, some of us, the painful, brutal history of our forefathers. But have the people or the descendants of the people who are responsible for such act, have they done anything to repair the damage that those brutal acts inflicted on the people? Are black people still second-class and third-class citizens? Are the people of color in this world still third-class, second-class citizens, so-called citizens of America? I'll let you answer that. Look at your condition. Even those of you who made it, who in reality are 1 or 2 weeks or 2 paychecks away from poverty. Has the condition been changed? Has the condition improved? Has the condition been repaired? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan continues. I want to ask you a question. The law of justice makes a demand on every action. And as Jesus said to his disciples, God is not mocked. Whatever a man soweth, the same shall he also reap. Obadiah the prophet said, pay close attention to these words, as thou hast done. Past perfect tense. Talking about an action that somebody engaged in the past. Now watch the change of tense. So shall it be done unto you. There is a law working here that is universal in its application. It has no color, no race, no gender. It's God's law. You can sow wheat. You can't sow wheat, rather, and get back potatoes. You'll get back what you put out. The problem with this is what they did to us was in the past that is continuing in the present. See, they have not changed. Times have, they haven't. So, what they did to us in the past, is there a price that the present generation may have to pay for what was done in the past? You may say, oh my God, no, these people didn't do it. White folk will tell you quick, we didn't do nothing to your people. We didn't have y'all in slavery, nigga. Yeah, they do say that. They would be telling the truth. They weren't a part of that, but they are the beneficiaries. You know, it's like some of the young brothers that steal a lot. They can't help it because they have no job. They have no means of making a dollar. So they say, whatever I can get my hand on, I'll steal it. Go in the barber shop and sell it. And you are sitting in the chair getting your hair cut, not thinking that you need a flat screen TV, and a brother will walk in off the street and say, I got something for you. And you don't say, this ain't Walmart's. I know this is not legal. Then he'll tell you what the price is and you forget about the law. I'll take that. You don't consider that you're receiving stolen goods. Is there a penalty for that? Yes, there is. Now, they stole us. We didn't come here willingly. We were kidnapped and taken on a westerly course. I'm going someplace with this point. You say, well, slave making was part of it. Slave taking was a part of it. Slave, and when you made a slave, you did something to that human being that they would purposely or perpetually be in a state of servitude. I'm going to stop right here in my reading. God willing, we will continue it tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but next Saturday, same time, same place. I'm very happy to take this time to read to the listening audience the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the Final Call newspaper. And for those of you who have been listening, continue to read the paper. If you don't have it, purchase it. And then tomorrow, go out to your meeting of the Nation of Islam. We're having a meeting here right at 5508 North 50th Street, Suite 24, where our brother, the student representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Brother Chad Muhammad, will be delivering a wonderful, wonderful message. I'm going to be there with guests. Why don't you come out? Once again, that's 5508 North 50th Street, Suite number 24. And for those of you who have been listening to this show and you think it's beneficial and you enjoy hearing the word of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as it is read and distilled to you, the listening and viewing audience, if you like this show, we ask you for your support. You can go to PayPal at the address jkingdom1@aol.com and demonstrate your support of the show. You can go also to JM7 Region for your Cash App donation. That's jkingdom1 at AOL.com. You can also go in PayPal at region7helper.jm@gmail.com to show your support. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your questions. We appreciate your comments on Facebook. We appreciate your comments on YouTube. We're now broadcasting on YouTube. We're streaming live at www.n-touchnews.com and also live on Facebook. And after the show is over, you can find us. Give us about a half hour or so, and you'll find us on YouTube in Closing the Gap, at Closing the Gap. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for your participation and your continued support. Until next time, same station, we'd like to greet you with the greeting words of peace as we came to you. Assalamu alaikum.